This is Echoes of Home, Book 1, entry number 79 by Steve, that's the husband, Falling Down. I don't know how to build an internal combustion engine. I know how they work. I helped a buddy rebuild one years ago, for certain values have helped. But how to create the actual parts from scratch is beyond me, at least if I want to be able to use it within a year's time. Maybe I could build up a set of recipes if I had one to start with that I knew worked and that I took apart completely and that I could put back together again and that it would still work after that. That's a lot of that's. So if I want an engine to use right away and an engine to take apart, I'm probably looking at buying 2 engines. And if I'm buying 2 engines anyway, why not just buy 2 engines to use? I mean, I really want to be able to figure out how to make machine parts, but I can figure that out using old lawnmowers. Of course, the engines I'm finding online, at least new, are running upwards of $3,000 each. There are probably used ones out there, but I might not be able to tell a good one from a bad one, or troubleshoot it if it's messed up. So now I'm looking at significant capital outlay, which I can't responsibly do without consulting with my life partner and current primary earner. The life partner and primary earner had some concerns. We do not have $7,000, husband. No, but we probably will eventually. This is for the project you have been keeping to yourself, for which you have wanted all the plastic and aluminum? Yes, my love. I think I need to know about the project now. I suspected that would happen. I still want to do blind experiments with her, but we can find smaller scale ones. So I showed her the picture that came with the blueprints I paid $150 for. She stared at it for a long moment. This is an airship? No, it's an airplane. It doesn't float like an airship. It flies by staying in motion with air going over and under the wings. Like a bird or a dragon? Kind of, yeah, except the wings don't move. They stay straight and stiff like an arrow when it's gliding, but it needs to keep moving. So it has a propeller either at the front or the back, driven by an engine. We have not observed a dragon in this world yet. A mechanical bird. These truly exist. This world is full of them, commonly used for long distance travel. This one is meant for one person, but there's planes that hold hundreds of people. And why do we want an airplane? For long distance travel. It's something we can use in daylight without confusing or upsetting people. But it is a vehicle, is it not? Did you not say we needed licenses to use vehicles? Not this one. This is called an ultralight. The government says airplanes under a specific size and weight don't need licenses to use. Tsu'na peered at me skeptically. We cannot drive a car, but we can drive an airplane. Yes, my love. That is silly. Yes, my love. Do you know how to drive an airplane? We can learn together. Our mounts can float. You say that this does not, that it must keep moving. What happens if it stops moving? It falls down and crashes. With us in it. That's something we should avoid, yes. People fly airplanes all the time without crashing. People who know how to fly an airplane. We'll learn together. She studied my face for a moment and turned to the blueprints I'd laid out. What is it made of? Aluminum for the skeleton, treated cloth for the skin, plastic foam for filler, clear plastic for the windows, plus the seat, the engine, the gas tank, and the controls. Gas tank. So it uses gasoline? Or cornylene? Right, that's a gasoline engine I'm looking into. So this would use my plastic, my rubberized cloth, my cornylene. I have been making your airplane for a while now. Yes, my love. I mean, all of those things are generally useful too, but Yes, they're particularly useful for the plane. If it needs fuel, how far will it travel? Well, the law says the tank can only hold 5 gallons, but the engine is less powerful than a car engine. I'm hoping it can get us at least 200 miles before refilling, maybe more. Why must the tank be that small? Probably to minimize fire damage if it crashes. She looked up from the blueprints and scowled at me. So we can fall down and burn. We should be avoiding that, yes. $7,000 is a lot of bus rides, husband. Buses do not fall down and burn. Buses don't go everywhere we might want to go. We can fly a plane into the middle of nowhere, which we may need to do to get to the stuff we need. 200 miles is smaller than Oklahoma. We will still not be leaving the state. Yeah, but that's just from what's in the tank. We can carry hundreds of gallons in inventory and refill as needed. Maybe even while flying if we can work it out. You truly wish to do this? Yes, my love. I want to build it, I want to fly it, I want to use it, and I want to share it with you. You do not need my help. We share our recipes. You can make this airplane yourself and fly it yourself. I don't want to do it without you. I want to share it with you. I promise it'll be fun. Have I ever let you down with something I said would be fun? Falling down and burning does not sound fun. Avoiding falling down and burning will be tremendous fun. She met my eyes for a long moment and sighed. One airplane. We make it work, we make it fly, then we make a second. I acknowledge and concur with your amendment to the plan. I may try to feed you to gators if you disappoint me. I think that might be fun. So now I have Tsu'na sign off on buying one engine. We're going to try to make an ultralight aircraft. One might be tempted to make a joke about flying pigs, but we happen to have the flying pig mounts from the Pixies. This will probably be harder. The fun of avoiding falling down. Yea, verily. Entry number 80 by Tsu'na. Safety. An advisory. Tsu'na does a lot of Googling while she's typing. Airplane. About 1,060,000,000 results. Airplane crash. About 68,300,000 results. Airplane death. 477 in 2019. Bicycle death. 849 in 2019. Car death. 36,096 in 2019. 640 in Oklahoma. Superman is right about flying in machines. Statistically speaking, it's still the safest way to travel. Husband wants to build an airplane. He wants to fly an airplane. He wants me to fly an airplane. We built airships in Eorzea. We never rode in them. They were piloted by a mammoth. If we wanted to fly, we had many flying mounts. They did not fall down and burn. Perhaps the airships would not fall down and burn either, since most of them used gas bags to be in the air. So this is his latest project, or perhaps a project he has had for some time. We had projects in Eorzea that we worked on together, but we could also focus on our own. When he was focused on a project, I sometimes needed to remind him to notice me. He was usually willing to do that and talk about his progress, sometimes over food, sometimes in bed. But the projects in Eorzea were usually not the sorts of things that could kill us, or even if they did, we had our home point. We do not yet know if we have a home point here. I do not know if I wish to find out by trying to fly an airplane. I spent time walking around town thinking about the project. It made me restless somehow. It was a very new thing for me. There are many things about it that are not things that I know, and I think husband does not know them well. When he tried to explain some of them, he needed to teach me new words, and some of these new words needed new words to explain them. Yet not knowing things has so far meant learning about them. I have found that I am good at learning about things. I think there are things I understand differently than husband does. He seems to think this is a good thing because together we can understand them better. So simply not knowing things should not have bothered me. Perhaps I should have talked about it with husband, but this feeling came from talking with him, and I felt I needed to think somehow differently. Googling think differently gave many results. A lot of them seem to do with business. I will perhaps look at these over time, but one of them mentioned random stimuli, which seems to mean seeing or hearing or doing lots of different things to make new thoughts come. So I walked around town looking for new things. The library felt too quiet for new things. The thrift store often has different things, but there are still different types of the same thing. May's Market had nothing that was new to me, though I did buy some pork rinds. When I got near the pit, I remembered Sam's offer, that I could talk to him even if he did not understand me. I supposed that meant I would be more talking at him than to him, but at that point it would be something different to do, so I went in to talk at Sam. Sam has gotten used to my typing at the bar. We greeted each other. He brought me a Coke as I set down the laptop, and I typed all this before engaging him. Now it is time to engage him. So, what's tonight's big think topic? Airplanes. Airplanes. My husband wants to build one. Okay. Why? He says we do not need a license to fly one. Oh, like one of them micro para ultralight. Ultralight, sure. So you're looking up parts and stuff? No, he is doing that. I am. I was staring at the words on my screen, scrolling up and down the page. Concerned. Because he's got a hobby? Because he has a hobby that could kill him. Suppose it could. You know, don't take this the wrong way, but y'all face down bears and gators and guys with guns. Kind of makes me think you ain't afraid of anything. I am not. It is not. Perhaps it was. I needed to think about it. Sam polished a glass. When we were on deployment, we had our jobs. It was what we did and what we thought about. We charged into battle. We breached enemy strongholds. We deposed tyrants. Tyrants? There were tyrants. We deposed them. Sam shrugged and gestured to me to continue. We knew we could die. We did not want to die. If the danger was too great, we would run and plan better and try again. But we did not think about dying. We thought about the job. We did the job over and over. Now, since coming here, I learn of people dying in stupid ways. Car crashes, bad food, falling down, dying in ways that are not brave or heroic or even useful, ways that could happen to anyone. I have thought more about dying since coming here than I ever did on deployment. I looked at Sam. And now my husband wants to fling himself into the air in a machine of his own making that can fall down and burn. I am concerned. Gotcha. Want me to try and talk him out of it? I do not think you can. It is something he truly wants to do, and his reasons are good. We need to be able to travel, and the airplane he talks about will let us. Okay, but there's like buses, trains, commercial airlines. We need materials that may be hard to reach. We have equipment we cannot repair, so we need to be able to make new equipment. We can make steel, but we would like better. We have not yet found mythril. Mythril? Like Lord of the Rings mythril? What is Lord of the Rings? Sam stared at me. It's a book. The Lord of the Rings, an epic high fantasy novel by English author and scholar J.R.R. Tolkien. High fantasy, a subgenre of fantasy defined by the epic nature of its setting or by the epic stature of its characters, themes, or plot. Fantasy, a genre of speculative fiction involving magical elements typically set in a fictional universe and sometimes inspired by mythology and folklore. Speculative fiction, a broad category of fiction encompassing genres with elements that do not exist in reality, recorded history, nature, or the present universe. Perhaps I will read it. He continued to stare at me. I wondered if I had confused or upset a hearer. I tried to change his focus. So do you know anyone who knows about airplanes? He blinked. None of the regulars. Maybe there's someone around who does crop dusting or hobbit flying. Do you think, once my husband has built his airplane, if someone can find out if it works well? What, like a test pilot? Sam chuckled. You want someone else to crash and burn before he does? My stomach felt strange. I realized that, yes, that was exactly what I wanted. Is it bad to want that? It's understandable. Can't say as I see anybody volunteering for it, though. Then perhaps someone who knows about airplanes can look at ours to see if it is made correctly? Safety check. Sure, that's something you can get people to do. Thank you, Sam. I feel much better now. Anytime. I closed the laptop and got up to leave. Ms. Tsu'na? I turned back to him. You ain't really from around here, are you? I was not raised in Oklahoma, no. No, I mean, his words seemed to be stuck inside him. Sure. Okay. Have a good one. I smiled for him and left. Perhaps husband can tell me what I should have said. Yeah, he's been showing her movies. He just hadn't gotten around to showing her that one. But he did show her The Princess Bride, because it's important. Entry number 81 by Steve. Mythril. The first thing in using a new engine, I assume, is mounting it and testing it. I don't have personal experience in this, but it seems reasonable since I'll also be making the fuel connection, the battery connection, the throttle, and so on. To that end, I picked one of the simpler desk recipes, threw it together, and planted it outside the workshop. Based on the blueprints, I drilled holes where the mount should go. I should maybe have waited for the engine to be delivered and measured where the mounts actually were, but I wanted something to do and thought I'd warm people up to the idea of my latest project. Sam came out with a couple bottles of cider. Based on past experience, this seemed to be the protocol for talking about something. But he didn't seem to be in a hurry. He just sat on the bench and watched me drill. When I finished, I joined him on the bench. He handed me a bottle and gestured to the desk with his. That don't look like an airplane. Yeah, it's a desk I was planning to set up in the workshop, but for now I'm going to use it as a mount for testing an engine. I took a sip of cider. Tsu'na mentioned the ultralight then. Yep, she's a bit worried about it. I'm betting she'll feel differently when she tries it out herself. It'll beat the hell out of bicycles, that's for sure. You couldn't just fix up a bug bus or something. That would take a license, which, for reasons I'd rather not get into, we don't have. Got it. And you really gotta travel. Well, yeah. I grew up on the East Coast, and there's a lot of the country I haven't seen. A lot more than she hasn't seen. I figure we can see it together. I was a little confused. Sure, the airplanes is unusual, but I didn't see how this was a cider topic. While you're out looking for mythril. Ah, I chuckled. Mythril, yeah, that's what we called it. You and your wife? People out on deployment. It was an alloy some of our gear was made of. Titanium, aluminum, carbon, couple silicates. I'm sure there's a fancy chemical name for it, and the defense industry probably has a brand name, but light, strong, silvery with a bluish tint. I shrugged. Mithril. Fits an alloy, how can you go looking for it? You can't, but you can look for the formula, which requires having enough of the raw materials to play with, which requires travel. We've got a line on bauxite in Arkansas. Bauxite is the source for aluminum, and there's titanium over in Utah. And you're just going to go dig it up. With any luck, we'll find it on parkland. We're not looking for industrial quantity, so we should be able to keep our footprint small. You've done this before. We make our own steel. Don't that take like a forge? Don't recall seeing one in the shed. You said you didn't want flammable stuff in the shed, so there's a building shell north of here we use for that sort of thing. We made an arrangement with the security guard. Guessing that's where you've been making your gas, too. Right, that's our shell station. He gave me a pointed look. I smiled. So, y'all ain't really going out looking for mithril. Oh, hey, we'd love to be able to just pop over to Moria and source our own, but, Balrogs. And you can't just buy this stuff somewhere. Maybe from the military? We're not exactly on speaking terms right now. Sam nodded, studying the bottle in his hand. Mission accomplished? Crisis averted? Question dodged? It's the details. Sorry? Your tell. It's the details. Your wife, she's different. She just hesitates sometimes when she wants to say one thing and has to make herself say something else. He looked up at me. But you don't do that. You tell a story. Lots of details. Usually it's a good story and you tell it well. And there's probably a lot of true bits in it because that's how you tell a good story. But it's still a story. Something you want me to believe. We faced each other for a moment. I finally asked, You sure you're not a Russian sleeper agent? Just a guy who runs a bar, meets lots of people, hears lots of stories. Plays poker on the side? You looking for a game? No, I don't think I am. I wondered exactly what I should do with this feedback. You want me to go back to saying classified? Say whatever you want. Not going to call you on it or report it to anyone. I just want to be able to make sense of things, especially when it comes to folks who can pick up my truck. There might be times when there's not a lot of sense of things to make. Try to keep me out of them, okay? That's the plan. He was quiet for a bit, then asked, Do me a favor? What? Tell me one true thing, just so as I know what it looks like. I wondered what I could offer him. The golden circle? Eorzea? Ether? I looked him in the eye. If I told you the truth, you'd think I was on drugs. If I proved I was telling the truth, you'd think you were on drugs. He blinked a couple times as he studied my face. I believe you. Does that help at all? Guess it'll have to do. We sat, we drank, we mulled over the situation. So, Were you on the level with all that stuff about mythril? Nah, we could totally take a Balrog. The princess is not a superhero in this. Another way of putting it is the superhero is not a princess in this, except as far as Steve is concerned. Balrog begs to differ. We have not observed a Balrog in this world. Yeah, you see the earlier chapters, and Steve talks all about how he now doesn't want to say anything is impossible because saying it's impossible may make it impossible, and he doesn't want things to be impossible. So he just says, I haven't observed that, or I haven't seen that, or I am not aware of that. I don't think he actually wants there to be Balrogs, but, practice. Entry number 82 by Tsu'na. Cows. I thought I closed that. We hunted cows last night. Our venison pies sell well at the diner, but we can only sell them in season without seeming to have more venison than we should. So now we are working on beef pie recipes for which we need beef. Perhaps hunting is not the right word. Deer are timid and elusive, and gators fight back, but cows simply seem to stand still. That was what I thought when seeing them from the bus in the air, and Googling cows did not say anything different. And since the cow farmers would not want to see us killing their cows, we needed to hunt them at night, when the cows would be sleeping. So perhaps harvesting would be the better word. Yet this harvesting was more complicated than chopping a tree. We went to a cow farm southeast of Wyatt after our diner shift, and indeed found cows sleeping in the field. They were large and lying on their bellies, and it seemed we could simply walk up and strike them with an axe. But their size and their stillness did not show how nimble they could be, or how aware of strangers. They woke as we approached, and got to their feet making noises like Lallacian buffalo as they skittered away from us. We could have run after them and killed them, but if they made too much noise, it might have alerted the farmers in the nearby house. So we switched to Dancer, moved to just within range, and killed them with our chakrams. They were no low enough level that a single hit was enough to kill a cow. We killed them, we waited for them to respawn, and we killed them again. Lather, rinse, repeat. We gathered a lot of beef, a fair amount of cow hide, and some milk. The milk seems different from what the Hartmans had in bottles. Husband said the bottled milk is refined from the kind of milk we gathered, and that cheese and butter are too. I will work on making recipes. Something husband seemed to know but forgot to tell me that it also did not come up when Googling is that cows shed a lot, especially in fields where they have spent time. Perhaps we could have avoided the shite if we could see it, but in the dark we got a lot of it on our boots. We returned and walked to the Hartman house. We had not planned our sleep well, so we were very tired when we got to the house, but we still took the time to wash our boots with the hose. It was early in the morning, but the Hartmans rise early, and the sound of the water drew Mr. Hartman to the back door. He looked at us oddly in our dancer gear using the hose. Husband told him we had gone to a party and cut through a cow pasture. He thought that was funny and laughed all the way back inside. Husband says cowhide is what most leather in this world is made from. It is far too low level for our armor, and deer leather is softer and better for clothing. But there is furniture made with leather, or material like leather, that I saw in the coffee shop in Tulsa. We have replaced many of Sam's tables now. When we have replaced them all, we can perhaps make chairs and stools with leather seats. More projects, more crafting. There is satisfaction in completing a project. There is pride in making a new recipe. Yet there is also an entire world here of which we have seen very little. Husband insists his airplanes will help with that, once they are crafted. So he is learning how to make airplane parts while I make things with cow meat and cow milk and cowhide. I am wondering when Myra will think it safe for me to resume fighting. We are due to meet with Ted again at Tony's school for more choreography. It is interesting, but not as satisfying as actual fighting. Though the challenge in the cage matches is not in winning, but in not winning too easily. Perhaps it is the cheering audience that I miss. Or perhaps what I truly miss is having options. And the Eorzea we went where we wanted, did what we wanted, spent however long we wanted doing those things. We did not have jobs. We did not worry about ID. We did not worry about what people would think if we did not return to our homes for days or moons. We did not worry about what farmers thought of us in their fields. Perhaps Gaius would say, "It is only right that I should take your cows, for none among you has the power to stop me." I suppose I should think of the limits on our lives here as challenges. We slept late today. I should challenge myself to go work at the diner. Princess Bride had a girl watch and was upset and didn't like it going into it, expecting the princess to kick butt, and not of what she observed to be passive compared to the kick hindquarters type of heroine in other books. Fair. Although she did push Wesley down the hill. And then she fell down the hill. So, okay, yeah, we'll see Princess. And she didn't even manage to kill herself. Oh, well. Yeah, actually, the Princess Bride came up in an earlier chapter where Tsu'na was discussing prize fighting with people, and she was thinking about it and comparing herself to what's his name in the movie that was played by Andre the Giant. Because compared to just about anybody on Earth, she's Andre the Giant. Anyway, last entry of the evening, if only because another sub-arc begins after this. Entry number 83 by Steve. Lightning. Amazon has me spoiled. The engine didn't come yesterday. It didn't come today. Checking on the order showed it isn't coming tomorrow. We're like 2 weeks from now. So I hauled the desk I prepared back into the workshop and thought about what else I could do. Need aluminum for the frame. That's metal shops to make the parts for me, or scrap yards for buying aluminum, odds and ends to smelt, or a lengthy trip for bauxite in Arkansas, if there even are bauxite nodes. Tsu'na has been having some luck with mylar, though she got distracted with plexiglass. I should talk with her about making a greenhouse with it, especially since the weather's getting cooler. We haven't done anything with gardening yet. Need to add harvestable topsoil to the list to help with hybridizing. The list does seem to mushroom, doesn't it? Starting to feel the pinch of time. Even if we weren't working at the diner and the pit and the library, even if we didn't sometimes spend entire days gathering, we're still at the point where there's more projects than hours in a day. And as nice a job on the workshop that we did, if I do say so myself, it's also nice to see what's outside of it. It's not like we can have assistants to work on some of the stuff with us. That would involve training someone in Eorzean crafting, which means Eorzean skills, which means enabling someone to be as dangerous as, well, we are. At best, if we can contain some of the aspects of what we do, we can get people to help us with Earth accessible aspects, like ether shards. We've got these crystallizations of the essence of stuff. We can use them for more than just crafting. We've tried on occasion. Tsu'na managed to light a campfire with a fire shard by piling wood on it and channeling the ether out of it to activate it. It worked. It singed her clothes and scorched her hand and left threatening sparks on her hair, but it did in fact light the fire. We've had similar results with other shards. A water shard drenched us and left a mud puddle. A cold shard left my hand stuck to a rock for a minute. A wind shard nearly knocked us on our asses. So, yeah, the shards are resources that we should be able to draw on. It probably involves building some sort of container to restrict the output without Sid and his engineering company, and a more controlled and focused way of channeling the ether without Urianger and his theories, or Y'shtoa and her ether flow vision. No one taught us this crap in Eorzea. It was all try this and see, or talk to X and he, she will provide you with something. And it isn't supposed to work in this world anyway, I think. So, yesterday I got the bright idea of channeling a lightning shard. Lightning is electricity, right? So we should be able to use a lightning shard as a power source or a battery or a fuel cell or something. But given our results with other shards, I figured I should think about it before releasing / manifesting / actualizing lightning. My understanding of electricity is that it's all about flow. Everything on Earth that uses electricity relies on it flowing, like a water wheel relies on flowing water. If it doesn't come in, there's no flow. If there's nowhere for the water to go, there's no flow. So it isn't enough to just have electricity, you have to give it a path to travel. You can't just throw lightning at a TV and expect it to work. You can expect it to melt, but not work. That's why electric plugs have two wires, one for electricity coming in and one for it going out. Essentially, an entire house works that way, with electricity coming in from the power company and back out. I think a subdivision is a big parallel circuit with all the houses essentially connected to two big wires. But everything that talks about electricity also talks about ground. And electrical ground is supposed to be something electricity can go into and not come out of again. A sink. I'd always thought it was a jargon term, but no, it actually refers to the earth, as in sticking a wire in the ground. Still not clear on exactly what it is about the ground that absorbs electricity, whether it's just got so much electrochemical potential, or it's the planet's electrical field. I think Tesla talked about that, or even something about the water table. But it works. You can stick a wire carrying electricity into the ground, and that electricity will discharge. There is, in fact, such a thing as single wire earth return, where you're sending electricity to someplace in the middle of nowhere. You don't have to have a subdivision to make up the circuit. So you just have a single wire carrying electricity into the place and the wire coming out of the place and going straight into the ground. Assuming the ground at the place is sufficiently electrically permeable, the place has current flow. So I made a recipe for copper wire, what we called bell wire when I was growing up. Single strand, maybe a couple of millimeters thick, great for kid science stuff. Wrapped it around a lightning shard and stuck the free end into the ground. Then I channeled ether from the shard to release / manifest / etc. it. There was a bright flash, a pop, and then an arc of lightning between where the shard head started out and what, when it was done, looked like a fulgurite in the dirt. No sign of the wire. It was as if the lightning had somehow simply atomized the wire, but still used it as a good suggestion of which way to go. I tried it with another shard and a slightly thicker wire and got the same result. Tsu'na came out of the workshop to see what was making the noise after I'd vaporized 4 successively bigger wires. I explained what I was doing, and she watched as I tried one more wire. This one didn't exactly vaporize. It turned bright red before exploding. We thought it was funny. That is, when the searing pain stopped, and the holes in our faces filled in, and the little pieces of metal fell out, and the skin grew back, we chuckled a little. But before I tried any more wire, I threw together a steel barbette with faceplate and a steel cuirass, because that's what armor is for. Tsu'na settled on the bench to be entertained outside of spider distance. I think she was in fact entertained when on my next attempt, the lightning decided the cuirass's woven wire sleeve would be a much better path to follow than the wire wrapped around the shard. Since it was just a shard and not something bigger, it was like a low-level thaumaturge thunder hit. Still, an eye-opener though. I switched to a leather jacket. I suspect the problem was that I was discharging the shard all at once like a blasting cap. A battery releases charge slowly over time. If you could get a battery release all its charge at once, it probably wouldn't do the wires any favor either. But this was proof of concept work, getting to the point where I could maybe measure how much charge a shard had and figure out how to contain it. A few more shards later, I had a wire for certain values of wire. It was more like a thin rod at that point that wouldn't explode or melt from the shard discharge. It still got warm, maybe enough to cook on if I had sustained a discharge rather than a burst. I decided that was good enough for proof of concept and called it a day. I also don't know if a given spot can get saturated from too much electricity being pumped into it, and an earth ground wouldn't be practical for a battery or a fuel cell anyway. I'll need a more portable and self-contained version of a ground. When I started my bouncer shift at the pit, I saw Trevor come in and realized I maybe had an assistant. I greeted him, asked Sam to put a beer for him on my tab, chatted a bit about the shed, and made a pitch. So, I'm working on developing a fuel cell. Fuel cell? Yeah, like a battery, except you refill it instead of recharging it. Oh, okay. What's it made of? Trade secret. Sam gave me a look. He probably expected me to say classified. Fooled him. I continued. Working with electrochemical stuff is kind of new for me. I was wondering if you could help me out a bit, take some measurements of power levels, maybe recommend ways to control charge, that sort of thing. Is a job? You're not going to try to pay me in copper again, are you? That step was heavy. Well, since we're talking heavy, I pulled out the barbette and set it on the bar. Trevor stared at it. He stared at me. Like I said, we work with metal. Wait, you made this? Yeah, we do armor, weapons, jewelry, all the Renfesty stuff. So, can I interest you in some armor? Comes with a cuirass. Cuirass? Breastplate, chest piece, shirt. You might be the only full metal electrician in Oklahoma. Trevor looked back at the helmet and tapped it with a fingernail. Well, I mean, yeah, that'd be cool, I guess. Not like I could wear it or anything. You can't? Seriously? Wearing a metal suit while working with electrical stuff? That'd be stupid. Oh, right. Sure. Tsu'na wasn't at the bar then, but I could still somehow see her smirk. So now I've got Trevor willing to work for armor. As soon as I figure out how to contain the lightning so he has something to work on. If things get too complex, I may need to make him greaves too. He might not be able to move by the time we're done. And that was entry number 83, Lightning.